Got you. So welcome all of you. So in this session today, we are going to discuss about happiness curriculum, which Delhi government introduced in 2018. The curriculum was launched by His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and we think that this is the largest program uh, for building social emotional learning among students in elementary grades being done anywhere in India. uh, the journey of creating something as big as happiness curriculum and making sure that it is implemented in all 1000 plus schools covering more than 800,000 children with the assistance of more than 20,000 teachers is not a small task. So therefore, I think from the policy perspective and people who have been doing similar kind of thing elsewhere in different parts of the world, it would be fascinating and interesting to hear from people who actually made it. So that is why we have an illustrious group here of people who designed not only designed the happiness curriculum but also drove that under the leadership of Delhi's education minister Manish Sisodia. So this was his vision, and his drive, and we all came together. Many of us did not know each other when we joined that journey, but came together as a team, and over the years we have created something. We are learning, we are evolving, and we are willing to expand it further. So in today's discussions, we are joined by my six colleagues. We have Dr. Anil Tewatia, uh, who is the chairman of the Happiness Curriculum Committee. He is also a teacher educator, and brings a load of experience in teacher education segment. And he's a leader of this curriculum committee team. We also have Dr. BP Pandey. He's officer on special duty. He has been a vice principal in our schools, but very passionate about this subject. And he led a team of teachers who actually monitored and ensured that the curriculum is implemented in the schools. We have Neeru Puri, who has been a teacher all her life, wanting to do something like happiness curriculum, got the opportunity to be part of the core team that designed it, and for next couple of years, she has been part of that team which created and supported the school system in doing that. We also have with us Mugdha, who at the time when the curriculum, happiness curriculum was conceptualized, she just landed up. She was a Gandhi Fellow teaching kids somewhere, and she heard about this. She came and became part of the team, and made immense contribution to this journey. We have Sucheta Bhatt. She's CEO of Dream a Dream organization. Many of you would be familiar with Dream a Dream. Dream's great work. Uh, she not just personally but rendered the entire organizational support to creation of happiness curriculum and supporting all throughout to roll it out. And at every step, she and her organization is there to help the Delhi government in rolling it out. And last but not least, Vikram Bhatt. I think the journey of happiness curriculum will not be complete without mentioning him. He actually joined the happiness curriculum team as a representative of Dream a Dream, and over a period of time became like a balance between different kind of views that were coming in the creation, because we had multiple organizations, individuals, they are contributing to it. And we had Vikram, who was coordinating this entire team, assisting different set of people who were coming with different kind of experience, and working directly with the education minister, who I don't think any education minister anywhere in the world would be so involved in creating a curriculum as Mr. Manish Sisodia. So I don't think Vikram's life was any easy as a result of that, because at one level he had to moderate and come up, coordinate with such a vast group, and then he has to also get it passed through the education minister, who will have opinion
शानू
on
कह रहा है इसको चेंज करना
every paragraph and every sentence, what story will go, which activity would go. But he handled that responsibility, and now we cannot think about happiness curriculum without thinking about him. So thank you all of you for joining here, and for the understanding of other uh, uh, people who have joined from different part of the world. Well, before we start this discussion, we would like to play a small video to actually give a glimpse of what does the happiness class look like. We will go to the curriculum part, we will go to other aspects of how we thought about it, how we designed it, but we just have a look at this short video to get a glimpse of how this class looks like. Anushna, can we play the video?
डेस्क पे हाथ रखते हैं और फिर हम अपनी सांसों पे ध्यान देते हैं, और फिर कभी कभी हम वो नेचुरल आवाज़ सुनने की कोशिश करते हैं जो हम नॉर्मली नहीं सुन पाते। ध्यान से सोचते हैं और किसी चीज़ को महसूस करते हैं। हम माइंडफुलनेस में ड्राइंग करते हैं। माइंडफुलनेस एक एक्टिविटी होती है जिसमें हमें ये पता चलता है कि हमें ध्यान लगाना चाहिए।
So Neeru Puri, can you just like very briefly in 30 seconds explain what we all saw in the video?
Yeah,
what
sure.
is the composition of the happiness class? Very briefly.
Yeah, sure.
Give the sound to what we just saw.
Yeah, sure. So the class is designed for 45 minutes in all. In the beginning, it's 2 to 3 minutes of mindful breathing. And then the main activity, and the activity can be a story or an activity from the book or the mindfulness practice for 30 minutes. And in the end, we end with a silent sitting of 1 to 2 minutes only, where the students recapitulate whatever thoughts occurred during the whole class. So that there are many stories, the mindfulness practices, and many activities given in the handbook. Teachers are free to choose any of those. So this is basically the class.
So thank you, Neeru ji. I'll straight away go to Anil Tivatia ji. Anil ji, you are the head of the curriculum committee of happiness curriculum. When the happiness curriculum was launched, your predecessor, Dr. Rajesh Kumar, was heading that. Now, why do you think there is a need for something like happiness curriculum in the schools? Why do we need it?
Yeah, we all can see over the years the challenges in the school system have gone beyond poor learning standards and academic results. Today, India has arrived, especially Delhi, at a stage of alarming suicide rates among students. In addition to the challenges of learning and achievement, students come to school with stresses arising from many sources, including family system, disturbances, peer interaction, conflicts, socio-cultural components, and vulnerability to physical and mental health risk factors. Research also revealed 26 suicide reported every 24 hours due to various reasons. This poses a significant challenge for society and families on how children should be nurtured and prepared. This compels us to rethink the purpose of education more than merely improving the student scholastic performance. We as adults have designed educational and school system for children, but how happy are children within these systems? With these challenges in mind, the Delhi government introduced happiness curriculum as you stated in 2018. The curriculum believes that the purpose of education is to create confident, mindful, responsible, critical thinker, and happy individual who collectively build a happy and harmonious society. The happiness classes will enable students to reflect on the relationship between their feelings, thoughts, behavior, and their impact on themselves, family, society around them, and the natural environment. And as our Honorable Education Minister, Mr. Manish Sisodia, had envisioned, we believe that through this curriculum, we will create the best human being to society who will help in creating and sustaining a harmonious society.
So thank you, Dr. Tewatia. It really helps to set the context the way you explained that. I'll move to Sucheta, to you. Your organization has been part of this happiness curriculum building right from the beginning. Prior to that, you have worked in the space of social emotional learning. Now, there has been a growing need of, say, introducing social emotional learning in the school system as part of the mainstream curriculum. Happiness curriculum is Delhi's own model of how this can be done. This is one of the approach that Delhi thought to be adopted. What kind of similarity or difference you see of the happiness curriculum vis-a-vis the global approach to social emotional learning?
Sure, Shailendra. So I think happiness curriculum is actually very unique when we compare it to other interventions we have seen across the globe. And let me highlight 4 aspects in which I think it's really unique. One is that the happiness curriculum was developed in-house by a group of teachers, educators, Indian nonprofits, administrators, right? We all came together and we developed this in-house for Delhi, for the children of Delhi in the school context of Delhi itself. What usually happens when we hear about more well-known SCL curriculums, whether it's in the East or the West, is that they take from the Western context. They usually take and then try to contextualize. So I think the fact that the stories, the activities, the core philosophy itself of the happiness curriculum being so Indian focused and deeply seeped in the culture and understanding of the Indian context makes it extremely relatable to the children itself. That's one. Second is that it was introduced as part of a school academic calendar. 40 minutes was taken out, 5 minutes from every other class, right? It was very intentionalized that it should be part of the school academic calendar, which again is something very unique and rare that you get to see. And to build on that, it was also, the teachers themselves. It was the class teachers, the school teachers in the schools who were trained for the happiness curriculum. Typically, you would see that you would either bring in external counselors, art-based teachers, right? There's a certain externalization of it, which doesn't allow it to get integrated so deeply into the ethos of every school and the ethos of education reform itself. So that is another way that it's very unique. And finally, just the scale. A 40-minute session for 800,000 students from nursery to grade 8 every day. The massive scale of it, I don't think we've seen anywhere else. And I would be hard-pressed to find a similar model that has been able to do it with this level of consistency and this level of fidelity to the idea.
It's 11 hours.
Thank you, Suchita, for explaining this so beautifully. Talking about context, Vikram, Sucheta mentioned about the Indian context and how that drove us to create something very unique for Delhi. Now, what do you think has been the guiding principle of the happiness curriculum, in your opinion?
Sure. Thank you, Shailendra, and hello, everyone.
I'll answer this question in two parts. The first being a more philosophical guiding principle, what drives the design of the happiness curriculum as the minister envisioned it. And quite simply, it is the fact that happiness can be taught. It's a very famous or very overused anecdote by the minister that he says that in chemistry and physics, we teach the structure of an atom, where we can draw the nucleus, we draw the electrons going around the nucleus, but no one has ever seen it, or most teachers haven't seen it. Yet they feel confident enough to go out there and teach it in a way where we can tell students after students in different cohorts that this is the structure of an atom. And then we can actually go back and test for it and understand that, figure out whether the students have understood it in that manner. In the same way, we make the premise and we believe that happiness can be taught. And what exactly does that mean is that happiness is at those three levels, which is the first is a very sensorial level of happiness, which no human being needs to be taught. Everyone knows how to seek that. The second is more at an interpersonal level, which is really where the curriculum focuses on your relationships with yourself, with your family, with your community, and then with nature as going outward. So that's the first premise, the design principle, that it can be taught and we can actually do it. The second was a more operational guiding principle where by design, it was kept very, very simple. There were no books for the students. There was only a guidebook for the teachers, where the teachers read it and they facilitate the session. And the curriculum itself has two major components, if you think of it. One is the mindfulness component, which allows students to look within themselves and be more aware of what they're going through. And then a stories, activities, and expression component, which allows them to express what they're feeling. So it gives you these two operational hooks. And the third, which I think is the most important construct, which is to make it mandatory in the timetable every day in the first half of the academic day, and hold it at a level of importance with regular curriculum. Do not treat it as something which is extracurricular or co-curricular, is really what sent a strong message that we believe in this and we believe in the idea that it can be taught.
Thank you, Vikram. In fact, you have made a very important point. In the previous breakout session that we were having on breadth of schools assessment, one of the things that we were talking about is this only, that academic discourse in the schools are predominantly knowledge focused. We overlook, say, skills and attitude part heavily. So by introducing happiness curriculum in the schools with alongside other academic subjects, giving a regular timetable, assigning definite time for it, perhaps brought it almost at an equal footing vis-a-vis other things that is talk. And I think that was a big significant shift in as far as Delhi's approach is concerned. Thank you so much for bringing that out. Mugdha, you heard what Sucheta said and what Vikram shared. That was a guiding philosophy and the overview where we locate happiness curriculum. You, I think, perhaps were the youngest member of the curriculum development team when you joined that, and you were coming from a very different background. What did you bring to the table in terms of design of happiness curriculum?
So my journey with that led up to the happiness curriculum actually started when I was 16, when I was trying to seek the answers to what is a good life and what does happiness mean to me. And that led me to living and working in a few tribal areas, tribal communities in a far-flung area in Maharashtra right after my undergrad. And it is there that a lot of my views on education and life got shaped. And I'll just recount one short incident there. While I was working in one of the government schools, I asked a student why they were absent from school the previous day. And they said they were trying to ward off a tiger which had entered the fields in which they were staying and working. And that's why they couldn't come to school. And it was many such instances, and very importantly this one, when I realized that the present education system and schooling system does not fulfill the needs of the students, their current reality, they can't, they don't even have the skills to seek or find jobs when they graduate or to live a meaningful life. So I started with some experiments in the schools that I was working in, tried to put together some meditation activities, some group activities, reflection circles that, according to me, would enable students to reflect more deeply and develop the skills to overcome adversity. And very soon it became a parallel learning program and scaled to a few other schools as well. And it was during this time that the Delhi government came up with an advertisement in the newspaper asking for proposals to develop the happiness curriculum. And I applied just because I wanted to get to know like-minded people. I never thought I would get in, but to my surprise and extreme gratitude, I did. And happiness curriculum is an example of a small idea that turned into a movement because the right people converged around the same idea at the right time and under the right kind of leadership. And there were many people that formed the team that came from different backgrounds. Some were NGOs, some were government officials, some were government teachers. Everybody came with a unique set of skills and perspectives. What I brought to the table was my experiments with these government schools that I was working with, a lot of which got translated into the happiness curriculum, and also my journey of reflection and how can happiness actually be taught in schools. And most importantly, a deep commitment and an unwavering commitment to the vision, to the overall vision. I think if there's one task that I've put my heart and soul into, it would be the happiness curriculum, and that could be said for a lot of happiness team members, just the passion with which everybody worked.
Thank you, Mugdha, for sharing this with us. And while you were talking, my thought was going towards Vikram. You shared the range of you shared your background, your experience that you brought in. We had Dream a Dream, which had its own experience. We had group of teachers who have been teaching, teachers like Neeru Puri herself, who have been in the school system and wanting to do something like this. We had other organizations. Vikram, how hard was your task to get all these views consolidated, assimilated, and coming up with, say, one set of things which could be acceptable to all of them? How hard was that?
Well, thanks, Shailendra. Let me answer that by saying that I probably will not volunteer to do it again. That's probably the first opening statement around it. But having said that, it was Sucheta alluded to it, and Mugdha very nicely put it a little while ago, that this is actually one of the strengths of the curriculum, is that a group of people have come together and co-created something which is very, very contextual and relevant to the students of Delhi. And a lot of the team that were creating it were teachers from the Delhi system, so no one knows the children better than them. And one of the things we have to accept about co-creation is that it will be slow, it will be painful, it will need 2 steps back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of approach. But what gets formed then is truly something that the group owns, which I think we have seen. So largely the idea was that each partner who was chosen to come into this, whether it was a non-profit or whether it was the teachers who had been versed in the overall philosophy upon which this curriculum is based upon, all of them brought a very unique strength. So a lot of the work that involved getting them to cooperate effectively was to make sure that they worked towards their strengths. Their strengths were recognized and were actually inculcated into the system, and really creating a clean division of labor in that sense. And of course, like you mentioned very early on in today's session, that Deputy CM is someone who knows his own mind. He knew exactly what he wanted out of this. It's a very rare quality to have a minister who's that much of a micromanager in curriculum. But it also helps because when you're doing something as unique and unseen as the happiness curriculum, someone needs to be clear about what the vision is, and to our good fortune, he was, and that helped also keep the flock together, so to speak. But having said that experience set the tone for us, and you've been privy to it in further iterations. as to how a lot of our curriculums now get developed. We bring in partners, they sit together in a room and don't leave until the curriculum comes out or someone, goes to the hospital, I suppose. So, but it has become a great model of how to co-create and build something that is of enduring value.
So you happily created happiness curriculum then.
That's right.
So up to this point, it was more like, say, design, thinking, what should go into it. The hardest part is from here on, the journey. Once you have created something, you take it to where it belongs. And it is here that I would reach out to Dr. BP Pandey. How do you see this transition happening from the design board to actually getting into the classroom? How difficult or challenging that journey was?
It's nice. It's being a part of the whole journey. Just I would like to tell first the whole happiness curriculum is journey from the connecting with self to the establishing harmony with society, from temporary happiness to sustainable happiness, and journey from looking happy to being happy. Now coming to your question, as already mentioned by the Suchita and Bikram, because he was coordinating the whole team members, in the initial stage, the Cell for Human Value and Transformative Learning was constituted to work on integrating human values and critical thinking in education. It led to the process of designing the happiness curriculum framework. As already mentioned, the various group, a team of about 40 to 45 members, including cell members, mentor teachers, EVGC, educational vocational guidance counselor, teachers, NGO partners, CMI fellow, and SCRT peoples work 24/7, as mentioned by the Bikram, unless they go to hospital, on creating a handbook for the teachers of class that is nursery to 8. The activities includes our mindfulness, as mentioned, stories, activities, and expression. The book was developed keeping some points in mind. That book should be the self-explanatory.
You mean the handbook for teachers?
Yeah, handbook material. Yes, the self-explanatory. No teaching aid be required, and activities and story are just for ground setting. Story to be realistic, and preaching should be avoided. In fact, no preaching should be there. And after the completion of handbook distributed to the school level as around 1,000 schools by centrally publishers through the publishers, the teachers need for the teachers orientation arises here, how to deliver in the classroom. For this, several sessions at central level and district level, zonal level also were organized for the teachers, orient them about what, why, and how of the happiness curriculum and how to transit in the classroom. For this, to coordinate with all school teachers, 8 teachers at school level was given the responsibility of being a happiness teacher coordinators. Other teachers who were taking classes from nursery to 8 were also oriented by that coordinator, happiness coordinator over there. Happiness coordinator also followed up with the district coordinator. I will mention here that some happiness mentors or team members from core team or NGO partners were also assigned the role of district coordinator. So they are also coordinating from the district coordinator for any kind of support.
So, sir, you mean to say that you had like a very elaborate setup to support this in the school setup. I'll build upon that and ask Neeru Puri ki what Pandey is describing, that this is the setup that was created basically to support the schools in doing it. But how did the school, the key stakeholder, the 3 set of entities that we talk about, school principals, school teachers, and parents. How did they take this entire new thing?
So, sir, that's very important question, because creating the curriculum was not that big a task, frankly telling you. But execution involved each and every stakeholder and the ongoing ecosystem of the school. So the heads of the schools and the teachers, as it would happen actually, they took it as an extra burden, because it was not very well understood by anyone in the school in the initial days actually. So, but something really good happened, that we launched the curriculum in the classes and our students liked it. They just loved it. The main reason for loving the curriculum was that they were given freedom to speak. They were given freedom to express themselves. And that would also add up to something, blunder, because when they are brimming up with thoughts, it would really spill over, the other classes sometimes, and it would become unmanageable also. But, with, passage of time, people started actually understanding what the whole curriculum is all about, and how the, students are becoming confident and more focused because of, so many mindfulness activities and the discussion part. They were becoming confident human beings. They were emerging something like new, and all these things helped the teachers using all these qualities in their own so-called mainstream subjects.
One question that we are getting, Neeruji, on the chat box is from Kolosa Donkegi. She's asking, do teachers also receive a happiness curriculum of sorts, such as psychosocial support? How do you respond to that?
Pardon?
Do teachers also receive a happiness curriculum of sorts, such as psychosocial support?
I don't get the question.
Do teachers also get any, say, happiness curriculum of sort? Do you do something separate for teachers also?
Okay, all right. So when we go to the schools, like the district coordinators, as district coordinators, we were visiting the schools. We made sure that the teachers also take out some time from their busy schedules, and sometimes they do those similar kind of activities. During their free periods, they they listen to some story and do the after discussions. They do the mindfulness activities. So during last 2-3 years, we've been doing mindfulness sessions also for teachers. So that was a big support.
And this is what I remember Dr. Anil Tewatia sharing with us and many of the teachers also, that this has been a journey of reflection for teachers also. So this was not something which unlike, say, any other curriculum where you are basically transacting, this was not so much of a transactional rather than shared and experiential learning. One question that is very often asked of us is what impact did it make? So I'll request Dominic at this stage to share the video where a child is narrating her experience for us to see what does a child feel about happiness curriculum. Dominic.
मुक्ति को बहुत ज़्यादा प्रॉब्लम थी घर में। मुक्ति गुस्से में रहती थी हमेशा।
मुक्ति ऐसा बच्चा थी जो क्लास से बाहर रहने के बहाने ही ढूंढती रहती थी, और आउटस्पोकन भी थी। सबके साथ क्लास में भी लड़ाई झगड़ा करना, ये सब भी करती थी।
पहले मैं किसी से बात नहीं करती थी ज़्यादा, बस अपने बेस्ट फ्रेंड्स के साथ ही रहती थी, और मैं क्लास से बाहर रहती थी और पढ़ने का बिल्कुल भी मन नहीं करता था। तो भाई बहनों से भी लड़ाई करती थी और मम्मी पापा से भी मतलब कि अच्छे से बात नहीं करती थी।
और हमने इतना बोल दिया था मुक्ति को भी, आपको हॉस्टल डाल दिया जाएगा क्योंकि आप सीरियस नहीं है स्टडी को लेके।
फिर जब से माइंडफुलनेस आया, हैप्पीनेस आई, पढ़ाई में कंसंट्रेशन लेवल बढ़ा, थिंकिंग स्किल बढ़ी। मैं हमेशा पढ़ाई करने से पहले एक बार माइंडफुलनेस करती थी कि मेरे पढ़ाई में कंसंट्रेशन लेवल अच्छे से हो जाए। उसके बाद फिर मेरे मैथ्स में भी बहुत अच्छे मार्क्स आए।
डर था मुक्ति के अंदर भी मैं कैसे इस क्लासेस को अटेंड करूँगी हैप्पीनेस की, भी अलग से रहना, अलग से बैठना। लेकिन जब इसने की तो हैप्पीनेस क्लासेस तो बहुत चेंजिंग आए। मेन पॉइंट स्टडी में इतनी सीरियस हो गई है ना, भी बहुत अच्छे से। मैं सच में थैंक्सफुल हूँ ये क्लासेस के लिए, भी बहुत इसमें चेंजिंग आए हैं।
सबसे बड़ा चेंज मैंने देखा मार्क्स का, जब इसके 55% से 65%, तो मुझे लगा कि ये मैजिकल, वाकई मैजिकल इफेक्ट था ये हैप्पीनेस करिकुलम का। बच्चों के साथ बिहेवियर में चेंज आया, टीचर्स के साथ बिहेवियर में, क्लास से बाहर नहीं रहती। इवन मैं खुद ग्रेटिट्यूड फील करती हूँ हैप्पीनेस करिकुलम के लिए।
मैं ग्रेटिट्यूड फील करती हूँ अपनी मैम के लिए कि उन्होंने हमको ये हैप्पीनेस सिखाई, और गॉड के लिए उन्होंने इतने अच्छे हमको पेरेंट्स दिए, और अपने फ्रेंड्स के लिए, उन सब के लिए।
एक साल पहले जब दिल्ली के सरकारी स्कूलों में हैप्पीनेस क्लास की शुरुआत हुई थी, तो सबसे बड़ा सवाल हमसे यही पूछा जा रहा था कि क्या स्कूलों में क्लास में खड़े होकर हैप्पीनेस को पढ़ाया जा सकता है। आज एक साल बाद जब हम 8 लाख बच्चों की ज़िंदगी बदलते हुए देख रहे हैं, तो मैं बड़े गर्व के साथ कह सकता हूँ कि हैप्पीनेस को पढ़ाया जा सकता है, और हम अपने स्कूलों में हैप्पीनेस को पढ़ा रहे हैं।
So this short film was created on the first anniversary of happiness curriculum. We have many more such stories and anecdotes, which strengthens our resolve that we are on the right track. Vikram, I would like your opinion on one issue which is basically flowing from my previous roundtable on breadth of assessment. Now, this is a behavior centric curriculum. What are the challenges? What are the challenges in assessing something like this? There's a background noise somewhere, Vikram.
Yeah, I've just checked. Sudhir Rathi ji, please mute yourself. Yeah, go ahead, Shailendra ji.
So I said, what challenge do you see in order to assess the outcome of something like this?
Okay, I think I see that question that came from Ryan, I think, in the last session. You know, how can we create something that doesn't further overwhelm the teacher? It's a really good question. It's a really difficult design challenge also in how do you actually look at something like this. What we did, and you were part of those discussions when we were taking that call, was to ensure that we put off any form of formal assessment for a later period, so that an idea such as big as this has the time and the space to get institutionalized first. And that largely happens when the teachers take ownership of it. They don't feel overwhelmed with something as new and big as this, as if it's one more thing to do. So it's really important that teachers look at this with the openness that we eventually want them to model for the children. And it was for that we said that in the first year of the curriculum, there'll be no formal assessment as such. There won't be any exams or of the sort. And we distilled it down to very few do's and don'ts for teachers. And all the monitoring was largely around when we went into classrooms to make sure that those hygiene factors were being followed. Just look at very few simple, easy to communicate do's and don'ts. For example, in mindfulness, it is a very important don't that, when you're facilitating a mindfulness session, we should not be envisioning or creating any kind of visual images in your head. The guidance should not be around that. And those kind of ideas were communicated to the teachers, and we kept it around that. Over time, once we felt it was settling in, then we had a formal partnership with Brookings where, again, alluding to your point, a lot of the assessment then became almost implicit, if I might call it that. It was just part of the observation of teachers and other people in the system, wherein a tool was designed and the tool is now being completely validated, and we're going to put that into the field and look at what results it's giving. I think the most important question that from an assessment lens that we should ask ourselves is, rather than what the student learned or how has the student been affected through a curriculum like this, which is so new, the question we should ask ourselves as educators and system designers is, what has the system learned? Has the system learned anything about designing and implementing a curriculum of this newness at this scale? And are the system stakeholders being honest enough about the things that are not working, so that can be factored into further iterations before we get too far down along the road? Ki bhai, have the children really gone ahead, and have we seen such great changes in the children? I mean, I think we have to first hold the mirror to ourselves as system designers and educators.
Right. And in fact, it resonates very well with this breadth of skills assessment discussion that we have had, in which our point was that there is a difference between testing and assessment. We should not mix the two.
Yeah.
For too long, we have confused that, and as a result, we start looking at it from the same lens. I'll take this point to you, Sucheta, because we were mindful of the fact that right from the beginning that what we are doing has to have a serious assessment component that should inform us as a system to learn more and keep improvising. Now, in the course of that journey, we engaged Brookings Institute Center for Universal Education. I'm aware that Esther Kier has been a vocal proponent of breadth of skills assessment right from 2015 onward. She has written several papers on that, and we were so fortunate to have her in that to do that. So, what has been some of the key findings of this report, and how is it informing us in reshaping happiness curriculum in Delhi?
Yeah, thank you, Shailendra, for giving time for this question, because it is an important question around assessments. And when the Brookings Institute came in, we did it at two levels. One is for the child and the teacher. So we've been developing tools along with them, survey-based tools for the child and for the teacher. And as the process of developing these tools, we did certain surveys. And this is what the children told us. One is they say a better relationship with their teachers. They have increased participation in classes, basically because there's no correct answer, there's no pressure. So they have an increased participation in classes. And there's been an increased focus and mindfulness among students. So this was something that the students shared. And among the teachers itself, we saw that they were sharing how they are prioritizing values over just academic outcomes, not looking just at academic outcomes, but more holistically at children. Changing their teaching orientation itself, again, because these are the same math teachers, science teachers, social teachers. So their orientation in every class, not just the happiness curriculum class, but who they are as teachers. There has been a shift in that. And an increased collaboration among teachers themselves, right? Because of the nature of this curriculum and what it brings out, there has been an increased collaboration among themselves. So these have been some of the findings, and now we have developed survey-based tools which focus on three main aspects: critical thinking and reflection, mindfulness and attentiveness, and social emotional skills. So we have survey scales both for children and teachers to assess this, and hopefully when schools are open and we can do a large-scale survey, we are really hoping to do a much more robust impact evaluation of the happiness curriculum.
So your last word that hopefully when schools would be open takes me to Dr. Pandey. Dr. Pandey, schools were closed for the last 2 years because of pandemic, almost 2 years. Now, how did you manage to get the happiness curriculum going, or in other words, if I were to ask you, to what extent the learnings of happiness curriculum actually gave something for our children to continue moving forward? Very briefly, sir.
During COVID period itself.
Very briefly, sir.
It was very tough time. That time, initially, we were in dilemma to understand and how and what should be done to carry out the process. Hence, we landed on the social media platform. Early at centrally level, we started happiness classes for family, because here the students were spending time with their family. So we started a YouTube premier series reaching to student through IVRS voice recording. And also we started capacity building of happiness teachers coordinators through mentor teachers district wise, and training session were conducted on how to use a different online and social media platform. In the present situation, we are practicing two things. At center level, a weekly audio clip is sent to the students through a channel like WhatsApp, and responses being taken on that platform by the happiness teachers coordinators there. At individual level, teachers are also trying to reach out the students and conduct online classes for them, and some of them also trying to reach out through their video clips and worksheet. And the district level coordinators are conducting a series of online capacity building and inspiring sessions with their happiness teachers coordinators to support them and multiply the efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. You are the hope. You are carrying forward this thing in such tough time also. So before I reach towards the end, and the last word would be of Dr. Anil Tewatia, I have a question from Laila, which to an extent, Sucheta, you have answered, but I just want to flag it. She has asked, did you measure the impact of the happiness curriculum on students' academic result? I mean, Laila, if you see the film that we briefly showed, that is the kind of thing we have been able to record. We have not yet gone to say one-on-one matching on to what extent the academic performance of children have improved. Perhaps we will be able to do in the next phase when we get on with it post pandemic school. So we'll be able to create much more robust setup to do that. Anil Tewatia, I come back to you. Where do we go from here? In fact, there is a question on this asked by Nadeem, who's asking, have you been approached by other countries around the world about adopting and implementing something similar elsewhere? What are your plans? Where do you plan to take happiness curriculum next, both in Delhi as well as outside of it?
Okay. Shailendra ji, I think it is very relevant question in today's context. As the next step we are planning, I would like to conclude and I will try within stipulated time. As the next step, we are planning to conduct a survey to assess the emotional and mental well-being of the students, and based on the response and data analysis of the same, we plan to make further revision and changes to our curriculum to be able to address the current need of the student as well as teachers. And also conducting state level research to understand the impact of the happiness curriculum on the students, and also triangulate the data from teachers and parents. In addition to this, once the schools are reopened, as it is very hot issue nowadays, we are planning to monitor and provide support in the smooth implementation of the curriculum inside the classroom. And one more important thing, after the launching and execution of happiness curriculum, many stakeholders who are working in the field of education and others also from other states are visiting our schools to see the happiness class. We also learn many things from other curriculums and practices taken place other countries like C-learning and other curriculum. International community are also showing the interest to understand happiness classes, like as we all are aware, First Lady of US, then Miss Melania Trump also visited our school and observed happiness class. That's why we are planning to establish an international self-happiness curriculum with a vision to collaborate, equip, and happiness curriculum as an integral part of the school system across the world and advocate the idea of happiness curriculum internationally.
Thank you so much, Anilji. And it is so heartening to hear that you are ready to share your learning with anybody who is willing to adopt it in their situation, adapt it. And as Suchita said, the Delhi's uniqueness was that it was contextualized. So our message to anybody who is interested in learning from this is that we are ready to help in creating their own version of happiness curriculum or social emotional learning things Thank you so much, all of you. It was wonderful to have this discussion.
Sir,
thank you.
I think Uttarakhand already started happiness curriculum. Uttarakhand already started happiness.
Sir, if you allow me, I would just like to add one thing. When you talked about, contextualizing, I would love to say that the curriculum is based on a philosophy. The core of the curriculum is such that it talks about human being, no matter where the human being lives.
Thank you so much, Neil.
It's on coexistential philosophy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Dominic, over to you.
Shailendra, thank you so much for organizing that. And, thank you to Sucheta, to Neeru, to Mugdha, to Vikram, to Dr. Anil, and to Dr. Pandey. Absolutely brilliant discussion. The happiness curriculum is such an inspiring reform, and I think demonstrates the power and potential of social and emotional oriented reforms that many, many countries are interested in learning from you. So that was a superb discussion, and thank you all very much for sharing your time and expertise with us.